Hey guys, welcome to Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews. I am your host Boise, and this is Raw vs SmackDown, where we look at both shows and see which one won for the week. Now that's all said and done, don't forget to like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified for all the content here at Smack Talk Wrestling. Now that's all said and done, let's hit the music and let's get on with the review. So we're going to kick off with Raw this week, and we saw that Roman Reigns and Shane O'Mac do the traditional opening for Raw. It's pretty much a heel babyface promo. Luckily enough, this actually wasn't long. It's one of those things. I know that WWE love to do this. They like to go, oh, we're going to have a promo to start the show off to really give a buzz for the match. And I'm glad it was a short one. It was very short and sweet. And it led on to the Revival teaming up with Drew McIntyre to take on the Usos and Roman Reigns. This, to me, if we have to have these promos, fine, let's get it over and done with, and let's get straight on with the match. The match itself was a really good match. It's possibly, for me, the best match we got all night on Raw, which is a shame. Pretty much, we had the Revival and the Drew McIntyre faction, which, yes, that's possibly for me the best thing which is coming out of this whole, Shane O'Mac versus Roman Reigns thing to speak of. But yeah, the Revival have a great feud with the Usos. Roman and Drew have been announced they're going to have their first match at Stomping Grounds, so that's been the first match announced for that. It's going to be Drew versus Roman after Super Showdown. And the match, it was hard hitting. The heels controlled the majority of the match. It looked like the baby faces were going to get hot tag and start getting momentum back on their side, but Shane O'Mac got involved. We had Drew McIntyre hit Jey Uso with the Claymore kick to get the pinfall. After that, we did see the Revival and Drew McIntyre help Shane O'Mac to land a spear on Roman Reigns, adding more heat to this heel faction. Like I stated, this is possibly the best match we got of the night, and the beatdown afterwards was really well put together as well. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Miz TV with special guest, the WWE Universal Champion, Seth freaking Rollins. This was pretty much an interesting segment. We had backstage interviewers waiting for Brock Lesnar to arrive. And it was pretty much The Miz asking Seth where his train of thought is. Is he focusing on Brock Lesnar, or is he focusing more on Baron Corbin at Super Showdown? Rollins replied that he's a fighting champion and he's 100% focused on taking on the number one contender, Baron Corbin. Then we hit backstage where we saw a car pull out, and it was Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. It looks like they were about to cash in before Brock Lesnar decided, you know what, I'm going to go to catering instead, and didn't do anything there. It was alright. You had the crowd chanting "burn it down," which, was cool. You definitely got the momentum for the fans ready, excited for this. But it was very uneventful, real promo, and it's a shame really. He pretty much pulled The Miz into this to do this interview, and it was just a waste for the A-lister, in my opinion. But yeah, bit of a waste of a segment. We already know, we were reported that Brock Lesnar all night. It was Brock Lesnar's cashing in tonight, breaking news kind of thing, and that's what was on all night. And it kind of hinted all night that Brock would cash in at some point. It's just, it just felt like a waste of a segment here. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. The promo between The Miz and Seth was fine. It's just that, the Brock Lesnar bit where he's just going to catering instead just took a little bit away from this for me. So like I stated, 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we were supposed to have a 6-man tag team match where we saw the Lucha House Party take on some random team, but that never evolved because we had Lars Sullivan's music hit once Lucha House Party were at the ring. Lars came into the ring to destroy the Luchadors, and the Luchadors did the instant babyface fight back, and they managed to pull off a drop kick and get Lars Sullivan out of the ring. This was obviously a ploy to build up, interest in the Lucha House Party versus Lars Sullivan for Super Showdown, but it really didn't do anything for anyone. I think the crowd are just so like, yeah, we know what's going to happen. Lars Sullivan's going to absolutely devastate the Lucha House Party at Super Showdown, and there you go. We've got another monster in the main roster, and that's about it really. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. I thought it was really poorly executed. I'm not invested in this storyline at all, and I don't think even the crowd was invested while they were watching it. Next up, we had a Becky Lynch promo. Becky was talking about how Lacey Evans pretty much screwed her over for losing the SmackDown women's title at Money in the Bank to Charlotte Flair. This caused Lacey Evans to come out. She was disgusted that Becky Lynch is the face of the women's division of Raw, and she vows she's going to dethrone Becky off the Raw roster. Becky came out with a great line. She may have blonde hair, but that does not make you a Flair. That caused the Queen, Charlotte Flair, to come out. Charlotte and Lacey Evans exchange words. This is a very heated discussion before both of them start trying to attack each other. A referee appears, and then this leads on to a match. Flair does dominate the match for a majority of the time at this point, which is fine. Then when we get back to the match after a commercial break, Lacey Evans and Charlotte are a little bit more even in the match, with Charlotte trying to hook in the figure 4 submission move before Lacey Evans kicks out. It looks like Lacey's about to get more of an upper hand in this match before Becky Lynch pulls out Charlotte Flair, punches her, and this ends it in a disqualification, meaning that the Lacey Evans Charlotte Flair feud can continue further along. Becky Lynch does get a little bit of revenge on Lacey Evans by hitting the I think they're calling it the manhandle slam onto Lacey Evans. Then after she's knocked out cold, she's holding up her Raw Women's Championship above her head in victory. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's a fine bit of promo. Charlotte and Lacey Evans did a fantastic job here. Becky Lynch interfering really means that the feud between these two can continue in a better way as well. Hopefully leading into getting Charlotte away from the #1 contendership for a while would be a good idea in my opinion. But like I said, a 2.5 out of 5 for this segment. Next up, we saw Rey Mysterio relinquish the WWE United States Championship to Samoa Joe. This was all caused because Rey is injured. He needs to take some time away from WWE to recover, and pretty much the storyline of when Rey won the US title at Money in the Bank, Samoa Joe's shoulder was up, and that's true, his shoulder was up. He didn't officially win the match in my opinion either, but this was a classic babyface heel kind of segment which really worked with two veterans in the ring. Rey says he's a man of his word. He talks about how he's training Dominic as well, and hopes that his example to Dominic shows what wrestling's all about. Joe does cut him off before he says any more. He takes the title. Rey puts the title on the floor. He's about to leave the ring. Joe catches him, puts him in the coquina clutch, and takes his newly required title back with him. Yeah, this is fantastic. I really love this segment. Rey and Samoa Joe just have that instant chemistry. You heard Rey say, "I'll be back," and sooner than later, and I will be coming back for my title, which was great. And I like that it does add more heat for Samoa Joe attacking Rey Mysterio after he relinquishes the belt as well. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. A really well worked promo. Both guys are just veterans and they know how to put out a great show. It's just so much entertaining. If you haven't seen this segment yet, guys, check it out on the WWE.com segments because it is worth seeing. Next up, we had a arm wrestling competition between Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman. Yay! No one cares. this was absolutely a waste of time, guys. Pretty much, Bobby Lashley attacked Braun after Braun won the arm wrestling match and hit him with his own finisher, the power slam. And that was about it. I really don't want to talk too much about this segment because, God, it sucked. So for me, what did I give it at the time? I give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I had to write it down because it was so bad. I had to write it down. Yeah, 1 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Nikki Cross versus Peyton Royce. We had Billie Kay watching on the side for Peyton Royce, and we had Alexa Bliss watching on for Nikki Cross. This was a okay match. Peyton Royce really kind of impressed me a little bit with her submission move. She was very much working on that on Nikki Cross, controlling the match very well. There was a few bits and bats which were just a little bit too, you know, what's the right word? Botchy, in my opinion, between the two. But after a while, they started to smooth out and they really got a good groove on with working with each other. Peyton Royce really was on guard. Nikki Cross started to get a little bit more momentum into the match. Then Alexa Bliss got a coffee delivered, which, you know, she's there just drinking her coffee. Peyton Royce kicks it out of the hand. Billie Kay pushes Alexa Bliss into the coffee. This distracts Peyton Royce as well because she doesn't have enough time to concentrate on Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross hits her with the neck breaker, gets the victory on Peyton Royce. I mean, a furious Alexa Bliss takes out Billie Kay as well in the ring. There's Alexa Bliss absolutely furious. You can tell she doesn't realise, you know, that Nikki's celebrating. Nikki kind of pulls her out of the anger, angry mood and starts celebrating. This is fine. I really like the, Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss partnership. It's like a wacky, two girls who shouldn't really work together really do working together, and I think Bliss and Cross just have that, that really cool little chemistry right now, where it's like Booker T and Goldust kind of chemistry, where one's very wacky, the other one's quite serious, and it kind of does work in a good way. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. I think that's a fair score for a good segment and just the chemistry between two fantastic women's wrestlers. Next up, we had Seth Rollins come out to the ring. He was sick and tired of Brock Lesnar wasting time all night, and he called out Brock and told him, "Come on, let's get this cash in over and done with." Instead, though, his opponent for Friday, Baron Corbin, does come out. He and Baron get into a pretty much a fist fight. Baron does hit him with the end of days. This leads to Brock Lesnar coming out with Paul Heyman and an official. It looks like this is it. Seth starts getting up, ready to take on Brock Lesnar. Brock hits Seth with multiple chair shots. It literally just destroys Seth Rollins, hits him with the Money in the Bank suitcase as well, and you can just hear Paul Heyman go, "Do it, cash it in now, cash it in now," and he doesn't do it. He says Friday, "I'll do it Friday it is." So confirming that Brock will cash in either on Friday, which for me leads to Brock is not cashing in on Seth Rollins like we all think. He's going to cash in on Kofi Kingston instead. But yeah, I really like the ruthlessness of Brock Lesnar right now. I think it really works well for his character. I like that he's on the show every single week so far, and he's actually made it slightly entertaining with the mind games he's been playing on Seth Rollins. But it'll just be interesting to see where creative go with this Money in the Bank cash-in. But yeah, for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It was going to be that predictable cash-in, but I liked that, he kind of turned away and went, "I'll cash in on Friday." So yeah, 2.5 out of 5. So we had a face-to-face promo between Triple H and Randy Orton. A promo I wasn't 100% like. Triple H cuts great promo, Randy cuts great promos, but you just go, yeah, it's just, that's, But for me, it was actually a lot more entertaining than it should have been. Both men just hitting each other with great promos, with Randy claiming that, Triple H needs to get his balls from Stephanie McMahon's purse, and he goes, yeah, but I've got huge balls, and you know, they have to go in the hand luggage and all this, but you won't know anything about this, Randy, because you've never had any balls. Really, you know, for me, very entertaining before most guys. Triple H does state that this promo's here to drum up interest in the Saudi show at Super Showdown. And some people said, yeah, it hit everything, it made it more interesting for them. And other people who I spoke to said, no, it did the opposite. It really didn't do anything to add the feud to this one. They did show a few video packages as well between the feud between both men as well before they got into the ring, which for me added a little bit more spice, and the promo for me was actually really well delivered from two veterans in the ring. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Solid promo from two veterans. Next, we got technically the main event match of the night, where it was Cesaro versus Ricochet yet again. To me, this was a decent match. Both guys really know how to work. Chemistry wise, absolutely, yeah. Why is it that I've got a feeling that we're going to go into the same kind of routine where we're going to get the best of 7 series between Cesaro and Ricochet again, and most likely have a tag team come out of this? But yeah, the pair really know how to work with each other. Ricochet did win with a schoolboy roll-up on Cesaro. Cesaro lost his temper and he attacked Ricochet after the match. About to use weapons, he pulls out a table, and we find a 24/7 champion hiding underneath the ring on the table. This causes chaos when all the mid-carders and lower mid-carders come out to chase him out to get the 24/7 championship. Carmella comes out as well. She saves R-Truth from Drake Maverick with a super kick to his face, and both of them manage to escape. This, to be honest, the match itself was good. It was just the 24/7 bit, which really, some people really enjoyed it, some didn't. For me, it was kind of like, it kind of disrupted what I think could be a very good feud between Ricochet and Cesaro, and it just brought a little bit too much chaos for the end. So for me, I'm going to just give this a 2.5 out of 5. If the 24/7 stuff didn't interrupt Cesaro putting Ricochet, or Ricochet putting Cesaro through a table, then I would have been like, yeah, that's fine. It would get a 3 out of 5 stars. But because the 24/7 stuff did interrupt it a little bit too much in this segment, I had to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had the main event of the night, which was Undertaker addressing Goldberg for their Super Showdown match. Pretty much the dead man himself stated he wants Goldberg to be at his best, which is going to be hard, and you're next. It was a fine promo from the dead man. For me, it's very. The Undertaker presence on TV is awesome. You stop and you watch what the Undertaker has to say. But it just, again, for me, very similar to what we get a lot of the time with Undertaker promos. So it didn't really add anything to this feud. So even though, he did say you're next, for me, it just felt like, yeah, here's a basic promo. I'm the Undertaker, I have a presence, there you go. So for me, I'm going to just give it a 2.5 out of 5. I was quite disappointed with the segment itself. I know some people really enjoyed it, but for me personally, as a Taker fan, I just feel like it was a little bit like, yeah, I've got a show in Saudi Arabia, just check it out, guys, and that was about it. But like I said, it's a 2.5 out of 5. As well on Raw, we also got the latest episode of Firefly Funhouse, which again saves Raw so much, because it is one of the best parts about WWE Raw is the Firefly Funhouse. Bray Wyatt is, whoever's doing this, if it's the writing team, if it's Bray, just is a genius. And this episode was based on a husky hog, new character for the Firefly Funhouse, as well as we got the devil himself, a Vince McMahon. I don't even think Vince does Vince realize that that's how probably the creative team and the superstars and the WWE universe just picture him backstage as just the demon of all creative. He calls out, he tells the pig he needs to work out, and we got a Bray Wyatt workout video. It's mad, it's brilliant, I loved it. I am going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. This is so much fun. Like I say, the Firefly Funhouse is so much fun, guys. If you haven't seen it already, check it out on YouTube. It's so much fun. Now this moves us on to SmackDown Live for this week, where we saw Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston kick off the show. This was, as someone called it, it was a video montage spectacular, which I kind of agree with. Both guys were cutting very similar promos to what we got a couple of weeks back, and then you have Dolph Ziggler and Kofi showing tons and tons of promo content, video package content to the audience. It didn't really add anything to their feud. I think, yeah, I do believe that Dolph honestly believes it should be him. He should be the WWE champion now over Kofi. But the match itself, these two have got chemistry, and they did touch on their past relationships in matches over titles beforehand, but these two will work fantastic. They will be absolutely brilliant in the ring together, and I honestly cannot wait to see how this evolves, what's next for them, because I hope it isn't just the Saudi show, because I think Dolph is a good competitor. After the promo though, it led for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to come out to chat, for a match against Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So for me, the promo part at the start of the match against Dolph Ziggler, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. It was standard, but I know these guys can deliver. Following on from that, we had Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods taking on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the tag team match. This was an okay match at the start. You had KO and Sami really isolating Xavier Woods, working on that. They really did dominate the majority of the start of the match, but it was a very quick match. Once Kofi got the hot tag, he managed to really control it, very much to a state where one Trouble in Paradise on Sami Zayn. 1, 2, 3. Kofi gets the win, and obviously we had Dolph Ziggler come back out and super kick Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston after their victory. It's just one of those things, isn't it? For me, it annoys me the most because Kofi is getting booked to be, a very powerful champion, which is fine. We like Kofi. The crowd is still hot on Kofi right now, but after a while the crowd are going to start getting a little bit annoyed that Kofi Kingston only has to be in the match for a few seconds, hit a Trouble in Paradise, and there you go, he gets the victory. And I just think it doesn't work for the audience, especially when he beats his biggest opponents, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, in very quick time like they did last night. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. The Dolph Ziggler run-in afterwards to beat up on Kofi was the right decision, and I'm hoping that the match between Kofi and Dolph is entertaining, to say the least. Next up, we had a special SmackDown Live's Moment of Bliss, where we saw Alexa Bliss interviewing the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. This is a bit of a shame, really, because it was a good little segment. But we had Alexa Bliss kicking off about some coffee. She was very, very much more interested in because she's a Raw superstar. She talks about how Raw is a superior brand. Talks how crap the coffee is here on SmackDown. Very uninterested in interviewing Bayley at all. Bayley gets more annoyed. She knocks the coffee out of Alexa Bliss's hands. This gets like a face-to-face. Next thing we know, we've got Carmella coming out stating that she wants to, she's ready to challenge Bayley for the championship as well. And why should a Raw superstar be challenging? Next thing we know, we got the Queen herself announcing that she's spoken to her good friend Shane O'Mac, and he's announced that tonight will be a triple threat match for the #1 contendership for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and that would be Carmella versus Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. Winner takes on Bayley at Stomping Grounds. You know, having Charlotte deliver this news is interesting, but the only thing which kind of got my head scratching is, you know, we got Alexa Bliss who's kind of turning face on Raw. I mean, on this episode of SmackDown, she's completely heel again. I know that Nikki wasn't with her to kind of balance her out, but it still felt like, you know, she should have been acting a little bit more face than what she, you know, like she has been doing on Raw, than what she's just gone straight instantly back to heel programming when she's on SmackDown. Just doesn't make sense. You know, continuation of a character's development is very important on a show, especially if you've got her on Raw and SmackDown, you know, for the week. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It was an okay segment and it led to a very good match of the night, but it just felt like, you know, it just felt a little bit odd with the Alexa Bliss stuff. Next up, we had a Lumberjack match for the 24/7 Championship where we saw Elias versus R-Truth. This all started when R-Truth tried to apologise to Shane O'Mac. He was using Carmella's phone. Shane calls Carmella and just pretty much informs R-Truth down the phone that he is having a match, he's having a sanctioned match against Elias, and it will be for the 24/7 Championship, which is great. I like that we're not just going to get backstage segments of quick roll-ups and, you know, attacks like that. That we're also going to have legitimate matches as well for this championship. The match itself was brutally quick, in my opinion, which is fine. It works for this championship. Elias did get the victory. Once the match was over, obviously, every lumberjack in around the ring was like, right, Elias is now fair game. They start attacking him. Elias manages to escape with the official. He's crawling on the floor. He bumps into R-Truth. Him and Truth go under the ring, and you just hear this 1, 2, 3 under the ring. And then R-Truth comes out with the referee again, and he's back being the 24/7 champion. So he lost the championship to Elias in the Lumberjack match, quickly won it back, and then escapes again with Carmella to get out of Dodge once again. I thought this was great. I like the idea that we're going to also have matches and everything. I like what R-Truth is doing with the 24/7 championship. He's entertaining. The only thing which really got my head scratching again, like Alexa Bliss, was the wildcard rule. What is going on with that? Because we had tons of guys from Raw in the Lumberjack. We have Alexa Bliss on there, and you know, it just feels like, well, it was meant to be 4 superstars. Now we've had about 18 of them on from Raw onto SmackDown. So is the brand split just technically over now, or doesn't anyone not actually know? So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, and like I stated, I really enjoyed R-Truth being the 24/7 champion. Next up, we had Shane O'Mac wanting to call out Roman Reigns. He had on his side the Revival again, wildcarding rule, but like I said, like every member of the Raw roster nearly was on SmackDown Live last night. So he calls them out. The big dog comes out. He wipes out, you know, Dash and Wilder. They just get absolutely wiped out before he can get to the ring to take on Shane O'Mac. He's Claymore kicked in the face by Drew McIntyre, and then the Revival get their consciousness back again, drags Roman into the ring, allows Shane O'Mac to hit Roman with a spear again. This just felt unnecessary. It's very similar to what we got on Raw in that first match, after the first match beatdown on Raw. So it just kind of felt like, well, we've already seen it. A very, very similar segment. We didn't need to see it again. I know it's trying to add heat. Hopefully we can, once this feud with Shane is over at Super Showdown, we can really concentrate on a Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns feud, which we've seen already, and we know it can work. Hopefully Drew will come out on top on that feud to make him feel like a bigger deal on Raw. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars. I think it's because it's so similar to what we got on Raw. It just felt a little bit lazy in my opinion. Next up, we had the triple threat match for the #1 contendership for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was Carmella versus Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair. This was a really good match, and you know who for me was the MVP in this match? Carmella. She really worked hard on this one. She was the only babyface in this whole match. She really fought every inch. So neither Alexa Bliss and Charlotte really dominated. She highlighted why she should be in the title shot. But unfortunately she never got that opportunity because Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville came out and they were not going to let Carmella get the victory. The commentators were saying, oh, they've kind of feuded with Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. I was like, really? I know they've had a few matches, but the matches have kind of been like rubber matches. There's not really been a feud there. It's not really anything at all. It's just felt like, here's a match. 24/7's got involved. Oh no! Oh, here's the match we're supposed to have. And, Mandy Rose won thanks to Sonya Deville. It didn't feel like there really was much of a feud going on, in my opinion. But yeah, it caused them to come out. They distracted Carmella. They distracted her after she super kicked Charlotte Flair in the face. She got distracted. Alexa Bliss came. She hits her with a DDT. She gets the victory. Alexa Bliss is now a new #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Stomping Grounds. I'm happy with this. I'm glad Alexa's back in the ring competing. Because for me, she is one of the best women wrestlers we have in the company. But it'll be interesting to see what they will do. Will Alexa have to move to SmackDown if she does win the title? I don't think she will, but I think it'll be an interesting story which they could tell, having both titles back on Raw and everyone on SmackDown trying to get this, the wild card, the SmackDown Women's Champion to come back to SmackDown so she can, defend her title. That could be an interesting story they'd go for. But like I said, I really like the Alexa Bliss Nikki Cross storyline. So I think they're putting that onto the side now until after Stomping Grounds. So for me, I'm going to give this match, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think it was the best match of the night on SmackDown. And I think all 3 women who took part, and including Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville who got involved, were really well worked together. Next up we had Lars Sullivan's interview. This was pretty much a terrible interview. It didn't really do well. It didn't make Lars feel like anything of a big deal, and it was pretty much, I'm a freak, I live up to that mantra people have called me for all my life, and that's all I'm going to be. Really didn't add anything for his match against the Lucha House Party. So for me, like I said, it was terrible. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Hopefully I'll never have to sit through another Lars Sullivan promo like this again. Next up we were supposed to have Andrade versus Apollo Crews, but before the match even started, Andrade attacked Apollo, pretty much hammerlock DDT onto Apollo. Finn comes out to try and save him. He manages to get Andrade back a little bit until Zelina Vega, she gets involved, helps Andrade. He gets Finn Balor into another hammerlock DDT, hits him with it, and leaves a message pretty much stating, I am going to take your Intercontinental Championship with me when we go to Super Showdown. This is a bit of a shame because Apollo, this was a throwaway match. I don't think this match really, this segment needed to happen because the feud itself has not really been able to build. It's not had enough time to build, and I don't think creative have had any smart ideas how to build it. Both guys are fantastic in the ring. They definitely have chemistry. We've seen it over and over again, but it's just a shame. I want this feud to go to Stomping Grounds. Give them some time to build it. Allow them to actually have, decent tag team matches against each other. Or you could do, here's a smart idea, if we're going to have tag team matches with these guys, why not have them team up? They're being forced to work together to win the match. That could be an interesting thing. Why don't we try that, WWE? Why not try that? But that would be interesting. But yeah, like I said, it really is felt rushed. It feels like they're trying to get this match also getting hyped up for Super Showdown. It's failed. Let's just get it up and running for Stomping Grounds, and let's rebuild it, and let's get it working properly this time before then. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's just a shame that it really didn't hit the mark it should have done. Last but not least, we had Goldberg's response to Undertaker's promo last night. This was awesome. Goldberg's first time on SmackDown live. He comes out, the crowd are just chanting, Goldberg, Goldberg, that is just so cool. You know, icons like Goldberg and Undertaker, they just had that aurora to themselves. Goldberg cuts a passionate promo against his match against the Undertaker, and says he's ready. You know, he's ready to take on the Phenom, which is great. I cannot wait to play it. And he goes, Taker got some good. He did he said Taker made some good points, but he's ready to take him on. And then the lights go out. Ding! Taker's in the ring. Goldberg turns around nice and slow. Both men facing each other. It's like, oh, this is how you hype up a match. And then lights go off again. Taker's gone. Goldberg hits one more line, and that's it. That's how you sell a match. Taker's promo was fine. It felt a little bit bland, but if you had Goldberg in there with Taker in the ring, just physically just seeing the two against each other like that, face to face, was fantastic. So for me, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. For me, that one little bit hyped up that match. That one little bit just did it. So like I said, a 3 out of 5 stars. And there you go, guys, that was Raw versus SmackDown for this week. Who did win? It's very difficult because I think majority of both shows was focused too much on the Super Showdown pay-per-view. We won't be reviewing it. I refuse to review it for very many reasons. But it just, for me, it highlights the problems which are going on with WWE, where a show like this shouldn't be going on. There's too much focus on that show when actually making actual wrestling and content actually interesting for the audience who's at home. So for me, who got the better show? Well, Raw definitely had some fantastic moments. The Undertaker promo was lazy, but it just, the atmosphere of the Undertaker was great. The Firefly Funhouse was brilliant. The Usos and Roman Reigns versus Revival, Drew McIntyre, that faction there is just awesome on its own. And then you got SmackDown, where your best part was Goldberg and Undertaker face to face, and the Fatal 3 #1 contender match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Everything else just felt like an advert for Super Showdown. So who won? Well, I'm going to give Raw a 2.5 out of 5. I think that's a fair score for Raw this week. I think it was, you know, it was an average show, but SmackDown Live is only getting a 2 out of 5 this week. So Raw does win for the week. But what was your favourite part about Raw or SmackDown this week, guys? Leave it in the comments below. If you do like our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press that bell to keep notified with all our content here at Smack Talk Wrestling. If you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at Smack Talk YouTube. That's a U and a tube. And if you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boise88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.